Alright guys, today I'm reviewing the movie Batman, the 1989 one. The one with Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, and made by Tim Burton. Now, that movie, up to that point, the only Batman we had had was the Bang, Biff, and Boom from Adam West, the campy TV show, the one with the shark repellent. That was the one that I grew up on watching. And when everything had come out, like commercial wise, because production on the commercials and stuff, like they went heavy into doing all that stuff. But that blew all that 1960s stuff out of the water. I didn't realize at the time that you can have different takes on a character. I just thought that, wow, this is adult. The stuff our parents had, that was kid stuff. Um, and now I can look at the Adam West stuff and I can appreciate it for what it was, which was camp. Hell, even the people who were making it knew that it was campy and kind of a tongue-in-cheek type humor. But this movie was the first time that people had seen Batman in kind of a new light. Now, inspiration a lot for this movie was The Dark Knight Returns, which was a graphic novel, well, it was four comics made by Frank Miller, and that was heavily influenced into this movie. They'd been trying to make one, I think, from like '82, and I think that originally they wanted Bill Murray to star in it. Um, I don't know why none of that other stuff got greenlit. I find it kind of interesting that they wanted, Bill Murray to do it because I think that guy could do anything. But it was kind of an interesting choice to do Michael Keaton. And from what I hear, there was a large uproar for having Michael Keaton, be, Bruce Wayne or Batman in that movie. Like they thought that it was going to be a retread of Adam West stuff, which the production people were pretty adamant that it's not going to be that. And one thing that I really agreed with Tim Burton on is when you look at Michael Keaton, like there's something in his eyes, like just the way he can sit back and kind of, just sit there somberly, in silence. And, his facial expressions say a lot. So, up to that point, I think like people still saw Michael Keaton as Mr. Mom, which is understandable. It was a pretty popular movie at the time. Also, Beetlejuice was around at the same time, so for him to do something other than comedy, just you would think that Michael Keaton would have been a comedy actor in a Batman movie, which he wasn't. But I mean, that's the thing. Like a lot of people forget that the reason why comedy actors are so funny is because they reach from the pain that they have inside them. People with the most amount of pain, usually make those around them laugh more or know, how to make, people more at ease in that regard. So now looking at it, it doesn't surprise me at all that Michael Keaton was a good choice for it. Like that choice right there really made me look at actors a lot differently than, the stereotyping that people, the typecast that people get, put into. Because I don't think that was really fair to him. Um, but I think it was a wise choice. And honestly, he was my favorite Batman out of all the ones that have come, and the couple that were before, from the like the Batman TV show or the movie serials from the '40s, both of them. Like Michael Keaton for me, like he sells it. Like anyone can put on a costume and be intimidating, but his Bruce Wayne, like, it just looked mentally scarred to me. Like, looked like someone that, would be weird enough to dress up as a bat, which I think is what Tim Burton, like, that's kind of quoting from him, because I think he said that once somewhere that, Michael Keaton looks like he's disturbed enough to do this. And I kind of agree with that. He's not the pretty boy Bruce Wayne that we have in the comics. And it really surprises me that for that world, like nobody knows his parents were killed. Like Vicky later on in the in the middle of the movie has to go and find out like what happens in Crime Alley on that and why Bruce is laying down flowers, and she finds out that his parents were killed there. To me, like that's just dumbfounding. Like if something like that were to happen, like say Bill Gates' parents, like everyone would know. And so I don't understand why like that was played that way. But I guess for the time, like you really don't know what time period you're in. Like there are certain things like computers, but then there are things like the cars, which look like they're from the 1940s era. Like it's a very timeless movie, but it's definitely a period type movie. Like at the same time, like it definitely has its own unique look to it, and you can definitely tell that most, if not all, the stuff is on a soundstage. But again, it's that whole like claustrophobic feel. But again, like every time you're in Gotham, besides the people at the city hall scene, like Gotham's got like 20 people. I mean, outside the opening scene too. But I mean, outside that, like you really don't see a lot of people in Gotham. Um, so like it's one of those things where it's like you're not really sure what you're looking at, but it's definitely something that's interesting to be looked at. And like I said, the choice for Michael Keaton to do the Batman role was an interesting one. The all black suit was something where, like, as a little kid, like I would sit there and look at the all black costume, and then I'd look at the Adam West blue and gray underwear on the outside. And this was just definitely a 180 from what I was expecting. There were no bright, sidekicks. Gee golly, there was none of that stuff around. It was just this is the world is dark, so am I, and I'm gonna take you out. Like that was the type of mentality. Like I really enjoyed that movie, um, and I definitely see how it inspired like Blade or The Crow, at least the movies. In terms of style, it's just a very stylized movie, and it's really good. I'd say for about probably the first 2/3 of the movie, the story holds up pretty well, especially for an origin story. Most of the time, I don't like watching origin stories because they really don't hold my interest on anything. But with this regard, the story, the first 2/3 of it was really good. The last third, it kind of falls apart. Like why was Joker? Why did he have goons already in a church that he didn't know he was going to be at? It's just the whole thing is just like what? um, but again, if you ignore the common sense factor on some of those issues, like it's a really enjoyable movie. Definitely the crown achievement was Jack Nicholson's Joker in that movie, to which they really went in depth on his character, tons. And even Jack Nicholson got like a percentage of the profits of the character, and whatever was licensed from that movie. So of course they were splashing him all over the place because his image is going to sell this movie, and ultimately like that's what sold the movie was Jack Nicholson. Kind of like how Marlon Brando really helped sell Superman for the in 1979. Um, for that type, movie, like nobody wanted to touch it. But once Marlon Brando got involved, then people started taking notice. Same thing happened with Jack Nicholson. People started taking notice, and you could tell definitely from the advertisements that it was very Joker centric. And Jack Nicholson was born to play the role of the Joker in 1989. Like that was like there was no better choice for it. Um, I think Vicky Vale did an okay job. She screams like I think only about 600 times in the movie. I think she screams more than she has talking dialogue, and that gets kind of annoying. As I hate loud noises, and she's definitely one of those like pleasant to look at but annoying at the same time. But her character, um, I thought she did all right with the character. I think another highlight in the film was definitely Alfred. He brought a sense to the role that a credibility that you really got the sense that these two were friends. Alfred and Bruce, and that Alfred had seen some shit, and that Alfred was going to help this guy, even if it wasn't what he wanted him to do. Like automatically, you felt kind of close to Alfred, especially when you get past the very first scene where they're at the Wayne Manor party. Um, like you get that sense that Alfred thinks of Bruce like a son, and I really enjoyed that relationship. Gordon was useless in the movie. He had some interesting parts, but sadly it wasn't really noticeable. Like screaming like, "Oh, it was Gordon! Yes, this is the Gordon I've been waiting for!" Like that certainly wasn't. And sadly, this movie was probably the strongest that Gordon has been portrayed as being competent, because in all the other movies he's sadly incompetent. To the to laughability. Like he's just in Batman Forever and Batman Returns, like he's wearing like Chief O'Hara's outfit, and it just it terrible, wonderful actor, terrible character. Harvey Dent was also in this, which I was sad to not see Billy D. Williams come back for the role of Two Face. Um, but I thought that he really had. I thought he brought something different to the role. Again, like all the actors did a very fine job with what they had. The guy who played um, Jack Napier's boss. I forget what his name is, but that guy. Like people that you didn't even really know, like that guy, Alexander Knox, Eckhart, like people that you don't really notice, like really just stood out as characters. And this really was more of a Gotham that wasn't comic book esque at all, but you really bought it. I'd recommend this movie to anyone. My little brother doesn't really care for it. He's more into the Christian Bale type Batman, which isn't bad. Um, but you got to realize the time that this movie was made, all we had was Adam West. So I'd recommend this movie if you look at it and understand that you're watching, something that could only be profitable and only be good in the time that it was released, because it doesn't hold up now, not by any means. So, all right, guys. Well, I will review another movie later on, and I'll get to all the Batman movies eventually, because you know me, big Batman fan. But all right, guys, keep on geeking on.